So what's the difference between a really good Counter-Strike player and simple? Well, you probably read it in the title already, it's consistency. Okay, maybe it was a bad example, but I think you know what I mean though. Sometimes you just have this one game where whatever you do, it works out perfectly.
Einer Stairs, einer Stairs.
Ist gepusht. Ich hab keine Smoke.
Einer fehlt, einer
Der.
Mann,
Close.
dieser Apfel.
So.
Ah. Der ist einer.
Stairs. Ich weiß nicht, ich bin crazy.
So free. Achtung, mir kommt die Granate. Was ist das
Geil,
Short.
Alter.
Wieder.
At this point, it doesn't matter wo ich hinschieß, Alter.
And then in the next game you play like it's your first time ever using your hands.
Pick den mal Musel lang, der kann nix.
Lang steht AWP oder was?
Was?
So why is that, you might ask? Well, it's all about how consistently you can perform at your best and how you can decrease the probability that you will perform at your worst. And I know for a fact that everyone that clicked on this video wants to perform at his best as often as possible. That is why today I will give you 5 tips with one bonus tip at the end that you can follow to become more consistent and improve your CS2 experience. Number 1 might be the most obvious, and that would be that you have to practice regularly. Who would have thought? Because consistency comes with regular practice. Spend time playing the game and engaging in aim training, exercises to improve your muscle memory and reflexes. You don't have to play the game for 6 hours straight though, because that will likely lead to a burnout and you will hate the game, yourself, and probably also me after that. So a better way would be to start the session with a 15-20 minutes warm up on a deathmatch server or on a community map that was especially made for aim training, and after that you could load into a map and start peeking the most common angles like I showed you in the last video. If you do that every time before you start playing ranked, your hands will get used to the motion in beforehand, so you don't have to get used to it in the actual ranked game. You also wouldn't play basketball or start a sparring session without a real warm up, wouldn't you? Number 2 would be your settings, especially your sensitivity settings. I was also a victim of that back in the days. If I would have a bad game, I would switch up my sensitivity a bit, not by much, but enough to completely throw off my muscle memory. So you're better off with finding a sensitivity setting that works for you and stick with it. Constantly changing your sensitivity can disturb your muscle memory, and obviously it will hinder your consistency. Well, now you might ask, how do I find my perfect sensitivity? Well, I got a solution for you and it's completely free, but you can still subscribe to help me out. If you are someone who uses a lower sensitivity, I would recommend to start with 400 dpi on your mouse and 1.5 in-game. If you're a high sense player, start off with 800 dpi and 1.5 in-game. Now you just have to play deathmatch and slowly adapt your sense to your liking. If you're using 400 dpi and 1.5 in-game for example, and you think it's too slow, just go up slowly to 1.6 or 1.7. Do that until you hit the sense that feels natural to your hand, and please stick with it. Generally speaking, a lower sensitivity is better because it helps you to be more precise, but you sacrifice the ability to flick faster. But in most cases the enemy will be in your field of view, and if you are a good player, he most likely will be near your crosshair. So you don't have to adjust your crosshair that much. That's why lower sensitivity will probably work better in most cases. So I started playing Counter-Strike with a DPI of 1200 on my mouse and an in-game sensitivity of 2. And that is completely insane, guys. Don't do that, please. But over the years I slowly switched to 1200 DPI and 1.8 in-game, which is still way too much. And after that I switched to 800 DPI to 1.85 in-game, and I stick with it for the past 5 years and I cannot complain. But don't force yourself onto a sense that does not fit your playstyle, and please, in the love of God, please don't copy the sense of a pro player, guys. All the pro players you know just figured out their own sense, what fits them and what suits them, and now you have to do the same thing but for your own. Create your own settings and your own sense and be your own pro. Number 3 would be to learn from mistakes, especially when things don't go too well. Try to identify your mistakes, whether they are related to positioning, decision making or aim. Doesn't really matter as long as you try to work on correcting them. Becoming more consistent requires a willingness to learn from both success and failure. So don't do the same move over and over again, because all of your opponents will play the game a little bit different. For example, running out pellets on Mirage might work on someone who uses a lot of utility, because you might catch him with a nade in his hand, but it most likely will not work on someone who is holding pellets from stairs with an AWP, for example. Obviously you have to try it at least once to see the reaction of the enemy, but if you should fail, come up with a counter. So being able to adapt to the enemy through the mistakes you've made is a key part of the game and the process of becoming a better player. Let's jump right to 4, and that would be to manage your mental state, guys. And I know a lot of you struggle with this, but you gotta remember, just because you lost the first buy round does not mean that you will lose the game. So maintaining a positive mindset, even in challenging situations, is crucial for consistency. You gotta focus on improvement rather than dwelling on mistakes. Don't let the mistake that you made and lost your team the round influence your mentality. If you stay tilt because of this one mistake, it will have an impact on the future rounds and maybe even the next game. Developing mental resilience allows you to bounce back from setbacks, stay focused during matches, and constantly perform at your best. And the same thing goes for your teammates, guys. If they they should make a crucial mistake that lost you the round, don't be mad at them for the rest of the game. The right thing to do would be to give them the good old nice try. Number 5 would be review and analyze your matches. That is probably the most effective way to see what you did good and what you could have done better. I know watching your matches and analyzing them sounds boring and tried as hell, but I know for a fact that it is one of the best ways to minimize your mistakes to become constantly better. To be honest, I also never did it until I started making CSGO videos back in the days. So I had to download my replays to record the best parts, and while doing so I saw a lot of mistakes I did. You might think that you will not be able to notice your own mistakes because you're not experienced enough, but I can tell you that most of the mistakes are really obvious, but when you do them live while playing you don't really see them. Most of my mistakes were things like crosshair placement, recoil control, or even map awareness, and if you're still learning the game, those will be the mistakes you will do the most, and fixing those mistakes is not the hard part. The hard part is recognizing the mistakes while playing. And the bonus tip is having a game plan. Whoa! And I don't mean that you have to know a strategy that is way too overcomplicated because you have to micromanage your entire team. Obviously, when you guys are 5 stack, you can go for it, but now I'm talking about the poor solo queue dude that is watching this video. What I really mean is that you know the default on some of the maps, or that you have a game plan for yourself. If a round starts and you are CT and you think about pushing A apartments on Inferno, think about what nades will help you or what gun would be the best. Pushing A apps with an AWP, glass cannon, and no nades to help you retreat if you should get a pick is probably not the best way to push apps. Another example would be to know the T-side default Inferno, for example. A part of the default is that the guy with the best spawn towards banana has two Molotov car, and the guy with the second best spawn will help him push banana to get the control over it. There's obviously more to it, but I think you get the gist of it. Don't play the game on autopilot. Actively think about what you will do next so you can minimize the randomness in your games, because randomness never pays out really. That's it. I hope I could give you what you were expecting when you first clicked on this video, and I hope most of your questions are answered. If not, just let me know in the comments below and I will try to help out as much as possible. And there are also probably some people in the comments that also have a lot of experience in Counter-Strike that will also gladly help you out, I hope. So if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this video, sir, consider checking out my channel for more videos like this. So if you enjoyed this video, consider checking out my channel for more even. So if you enjoyed this channel, sir. Obviously you will have to try it at least. Obviously you will have to try it at least once to see the reaction of the enemy. And I hope most of your questions are answered. And I hope most of your questions are kind of answered. I hope most of your questions are answered. God damn.